Hi everyone. Today I'm diving into into Jesus the Great Philosopher by Jonathan Pennington and engaging with one of its central arguments. What are the distinctive features of a Christian Eudaimonism, and how does following Christ offer a unique answer to the question of human happiness, different from both ancient philosophy and modern perspectives? So, Pennington argues that Christianity, especially in the teachings of Jesus, presents a distinct and transformative vision of eudaimonia, or the good life. Unlike secular or ancient visions that often focus on internal self-mastery or external pleasure, Christian Eudaimonism centers on relational flourishing grounded in God. Um, Pennington writes, Christianity's vision of human flourishing is not primarily about internal tranquility, but about right relationships with God, neighbor, and self within the created order. This quote is key. The Christian view doesn't separate morality from happiness, as modern views often do, nor does it define happiness merely in terms of virtue or pleasure. Instead, the Christian idea of flourishing is fundamentally relational and technological. It's about moving towards the purpose for which we were created, and it is communication with God. So now let's talk about Jesus' teachings on happiness. Well, Jesus' teachings, especially the Sermon on the Mount, are crucial here. The beauties being with blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. I'm so sorry. I paused the slide and I just cannot really go back, but I'm still going to explain what I wanted to finish. Jesus' teachings, these statements refine happiness in Greek. In Greek philosophy, some, like Aristotle, would say happiness comes from cultivating virtue over a lifetime, but Jesus flips this and says the happy person is one who is humble, merciful, and deeply dependent on God. Pennington explains, Jesus does not offer us escape from the world, but a transformed life in the world, with love as its center. This makes a major departure from ancient and modern views alike. Christian Eudaimonism insists that happiness is not found in self-sufficiency, but in grace, love, and communication. Let's compare compassion with Stoicism and hedonism. Stoicism, like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, argued that happiness lies in aligning oneself with nature and accepting fate with rational detachment. According to Stoicism, internal events don't matter, only our internal responses does. But Christianity challenges this. While Stoicism values virtue and self-control, Christianity rejects that idea that we are meant to be detached and self-sufficient. Jesus weeps, celebrates, suffers, and loves deeply. Christianity affirms emotion, embodiment, and community. Pennington writes that Stoicism taught people to be strong and stable in the face of suffering, but Jesus taught people to suffer with hope because of God's love. But so let's talk about hedonism. In contrast, Modern hedonism, especially in a secular West, tells us that happiness is the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. But Pennington shows how this view is shallow and ultimately unsatisfying. He writes that the modern Western ideal of the good life, defined by personal autonomy, uh, material comfort, and entertainment, is proving to be deeply fallow. Christianity doesn't deny pleasure, but it rearranges it towards worship and self-giving. True happiness is not found in consuming, but in loving, serving, and beloving.
But um, let's talk about my own view. Between these views, I found Christian eudaimonism the most completing. I believe that the meaningful life must be grounded in something greater than the self, and Christianity offers that in the person of Jesus Christ. Jesus teaches us that happiness is not just about virtue or pleasure, but about transformation through love. As Pennington notes, the Christian good life is not something we achieve, but something we receive through grace and then live out in the world. Compared to Stoicism, Christianity embraces human vulnerability and affirms the importance of community and love. Compared to hedonism, it's criticized the emptiness of self-centered and pleasure, and instead calls us to live life of purpose, sacrifice, and internal hope. But if I had to pick a second best, I would say Stoicism. It offers a powerful vision of inner peace and virtue, but its weakness is that it lacks a trans, transcendent anchor. It leaves us alone in the universe. Christianity, by contrast, says, "You're not alone, you're loved, you are made for a relationship with God and other." That's why I believe the Christian vision of happiness is not just different, it's deeper, richer, and more satisfying. Thank you.